glad you could come along.
I put a spell on you.
Grid is live. Initiate light cycle battle.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
For a safe trip, remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the cabin. Be sure to watch your children, and no smoking, please.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Pirates and Princesses podcast. This is Tom. I'm here with Cam.
That's me. Hi.
Together we are Cam and Tom.
That's,
See, I put you
yes.
first.
See, that's how it goes.
So we're going to talk about a bunch of things today. We're going to talk about the Flower and Garden Festival in EPCOT. That's a favorite for a lot of people. We're going to talk about some other Disney news for the week. And apparently we're going to talk about the orange bird a lot.
I love the orange bird.
So we're going to talk about all of that, guys. So please, before we start, check out piratesandprincesses.net for more objective Disney and Universal news. And also subscribe to this podcast wherever you found it, whether it's Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, wherever. You like subs, right?
Yeah.
Give us a sub. We're going to beg. All right.
That's not at all awkward.
That's not awkward.
Before we get into the stuff, let's talk about festivals at Epcot. Because there's like 4 festivals. And I want to see what your thoughts are. And which one's your favorite. So every year, it used to be just the food and wine, and they kept adding more. So now we have, at the beginning of the year, Festival of the Arts. And then it goes into Flower and Garden. And then from that, it rolls right into food and wine. And then it goes into the International Festival Holidays.
Yeah. So my thought on this is obviously Disney is doing this for money because you know, food and wine wound up being such a huge hit for them.
It's still their biggest, like longest one. It lasts like months and months.
My personal opinion is it's going to sound like Debbie Downer here, but none of the festivals feel special because there's virtually no break in between them.
Yeah, but which one do you like the best?
Currently, I would say Flower and Garden. Now,
me too.
Flower and Garden at one point in time was just the topiaries and things related to gardening, and they did not have the food kiosks. Then they added the food kiosks, and it's basically everything that Food and Wine Festival is, but also topiaries. So
pretty much, in the Butterfly House and things like that.
Yeah.
Now the newest one I think is the Festival of the Arts, and it's only been around for a few years. And I like that. I'm an art teacher. That's what my degree is in. So I always thought that was fun. But as much as I like the Festival of the Arts, I love the fact they have the chalk drawings and all the fun stuff like that. Flower and Garden is still my favorite. I love it. I just think it's pretty because the flowers are topiaries everywhere. I personally liked Flower and Garden Festival best. I do not like the Food and Wine Festival. I think it's too long. I think it's boring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more kiosks. And it's just, to me, you don't get the same immersion that you do in like the Festival of the Arts or the Flower and Garden, or even the Christmas one, because this last year they had like the storytellers and stuff, the Santas and the different storytellers at all different countries, which is really cool.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably true because Food and Wine actually feels like the least interesting of the festivals now because, you know, again, the Festival of the Arts, you have all kinds of cool art to look at, and you've got the topiaries, the Flower and Garden, and then you've got the holiday stuff going on. Yeah, actually, Food and Wine is boring. They've actually made Food and Wine, which was their kind of their flagship, festival event. They made it boring by adding all these other events that are superior, pretty much in every way.
I agree. So for my list, I would say festival or the Flower and Garden Festival, Festival of the Arts, holidays, and then Food and Wine. Because I just don't. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Because I actually can't see myself making a trip down there for Food and Wine anymore. If I had to choose between, going to Flower and Garden or Food and Wine, even Festival of the Arts, I thought Festival of the Arts was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's how I judge it. I'm like, which one of these would make me go to all the trouble to go down there? And the Flower and Garden Festival definitely would be my top. Festival of the Arts next. A holiday one because I like holidays, but Food and Wine is my least. It's also during like the peak times in the summer and crap too, when it's like really busy. I don't know. To me, I'd just rather go to Flower and Garden than any of the other ones.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that for the money, I think is probably the best festival. But I mean, that being said, it just feels like it's just one long festival all year round. They just switch it out.
It used to be, special. You go to the event. Now it's just, which flavor of festival do you want to visit?
Pretty much. And I mean, I get it from a business standpoint. You always want to have that extra money because that's what Disney's looking at. Like, okay, well, we made all this extra money in, third quarter or whatever for the food and wine. If we could do that all year round, that's probably what happened. They're like, well, if we could just do that all year round, it'd be fantastic.
I also think the Flower and Garden Festival and the holidays more so than the other ones. It's the whole way around Epcot. Like you're immersed the whole way around. Like because they have stuff in all different World Showcase countries with the now they had the kiosks, but I'm talking about the topiaries or like the storytellers or things like that. So it's all through Epcot. The other ones are through Epcot too, but I just don't think they're as immersive throughout Epcot as the Flower and Garden and the holidays are. But that's just me. But this year for the International Flower and Garden Festival, which has started, there are some new topiaries that are going to be part of the event because they keep adding new topiaries. And this year we're getting a new Groot one, which is near Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, the Cosmic Rewind attraction, which I still have to laugh about that one. I love it. It's a lot of fun. My son doesn't really like coasters that much, but he loves this one. The only problem I have with it is, and if you've been on it, you know what I'm talking about. I do not understand why at the end of the attraction, you have to walk downstairs.
People have been getting hurt, haven't they?
Like they need an escalator or something else. But no, they have steps. And I just don't understand that because I'm like, you just got spun around because it's basically just one giant corkscrew. And plus your cars are, they move too. They turn as you're spinning. So you're very, kind of disoriented or dizzy when you get off of it. And their bright idea was, let's put steps to the end. So you have to walk down a flight of steps and people were falling down the steps. I'm not laughing about them getting hurt, but I was just like, I don't understand the thought process other than we might save money by not putting an escalator in. I mean, there wasn't enough room for the mechanics or something. I don't know, but that amuses me because I'm like, why would you put steps?
Yeah, and people probably been drinking too because all the festivals.
Well,
right?
I wouldn't recommend going on that ride if you've been drinking because you'll just throw up. So then they have the new topiaries for Wish, where they have them. I think those are up front. The entrance is Asha, Valentino, and the Wishing Star, and of course because it's the new movie. Like last year, I think they had Encanto out there. Now they have Wish out there.
But everybody's forgotten about Wish already.
I know, pretty much. And they also have, but they would have been working on these topiaries for, since last year or the year before. Sure. So, and then they also have Miguel and Dante from Coco. And of course, they're in the Mexico Pavilion because they're waiting for them to put the Coco overlay on the Three Caballeros attraction, the Grand Fiesta Tour. So those are what are new for the topiaries this year and where you can find them. Also going on right now is for Easter, they do this thing at the deluxe hotels. They do it at the Grand Floridian, at the Beach Club and the Yacht Club. They have egg displays. So they have different pastry chefs do them or different cast members and stuff do them, I think, depending where you go. And they have these Easter egg displays going on. But if you're over at the Grand Floridian, which if you're at Magic Kingdom, you can just walk across. There's a walkway. You can just go right there to check it out. They have the Grand Cottage. And the Grand Cottage is going to sell snacks for Easter. I think they're open until the 1st of April. Or the end of the month, obviously, because, April 1st. It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And here's what you can get. You can get a hot crust bun for $4.50, Easter marshmallow pop for $4.50, guava cream cheese sweet roll for $4.75, Bunny Burrow dirt cup for $7. $7 for a dirt cup. Fruity cereal Mickey Pop, $7.25 for a Mickey fruit, for a Rice Krispie treat pop. Carrot Blondie Pop, $7.50.
They're just cake pops, right? They're just like
basically,
cake pops.
or like Rice Krispie treats. White chocolate bunny pop, $8. A marshmallow egg, $8. A lemon blueberry whoopie pie, $8.25
for a whoopie pie.
Oh my god! Confetti pop, $9.75. Cream cheese carrot coffee cake, $9.75. Milk chocolate bunny, $12. Macaron box, $15. Bunny pop flower pot, $15. The grand egg, $20. Paint your own chocolate egg, $25. Or the Easter treat box for $80.
$80? Was that just like one of everything in a box? Oh my God. I mean, they're not even that big. I mean, this is the thing that's crazy about Disney with the food prices, right? with any of this, the snacks, is that it seems like a good deal when you're, on Disney property. Like it's so weird. Like there's a distortion field or something when you go to Disney World. You're like, anywhere else, you're like, oh, $5 for a soda. That is highway robbery. That is ridiculous. For $5, I should get a 6-pack of soda. You go to Disney, you're like, $5 for a Coke. Well, that's a good deal.
It's not a good deal.
Because if I go to the restaurant, $6, so I can get a can of Coke for, $5 or whatever. Like there's this crazy distortion field. A slice of cake for $9.75. But if you go anywhere else, you could buy a whole cake probably for that. You go to the grocery store, you can get like a small cake. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's just so weird. And people will pay. I'm looking at this Bunny Pop flower pot, and it's just a cheap flower pot with some jelly beans in it.
A chocolate pot with jelly beans, and then like a bunny, a chocolate, like you put it in mold,
a tiny chocolate bunny with a little bow on it for $15.
I mean, the macarons make sense because they're usually more expensive.
Paint your own egg. It's just a cookie.
Yeah, for $25
to paint a cookie,
or is it a piece of chocolate? I think it might be.
White chocolate, but still, it's. I'm sorry. That's
like
crazy.
A cookie cutter piece, and then you get like icing with like a brush and icing.
But people are going to do it.
Do you get more than one color, or do you only get one color? I don't know.
People are going to do it. They're going to be like, "Well, I'm already $5,000 or $10,000 into this vacation.
What's another $20?
What's another $20? Yeah, we'll take some pictures and we'll put it on Instagram, or the kids will remember this or whatever." And that's the thought process. It's just like, you don't think about it. Like we used to go to Disney a lot more often than we do, and when you step away for a couple of months, you don't go down, you're like, and you're in the real world and you're spending real money in the real world, you're like, oh my God, things are expensive.
Yeah, I know. Disney's insane. It's just ridiculous. Speaking of things that are expensive, we're going to talk about Disneyland is going to open up their Magic Keys again. They're going to offer the Magic Key passes starting on tomorrow, March 5th.
Yeah.
They're going to have the online queue is going to open no earlier than 8:45 a.m. Pacific time. And they're not going to start sales until like 9 a.m. Pacific time. They've been on pause for a while, like since January. No word on if they're going to be more expensive or not, but my money's probably on yes.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
But if you need that, it opens tomorrow.
Every time they take something offline and then they bring it back, it always has a couple of extra snags, and it always costs more.
It always costs more, and usually they take something away.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that we'll probably find out more about that tomorrow, but I'm expecting a price increase or if the price stays the same, you lose something. So that's going to be for Disneyland people. You can get on that March 5th. By the time this airs, it might be past that, but people
are going to be like, no, this is what happened. We are recording this on Monday. So
yeah. So
just be aware we record our podcast a couple days before they go live. So we're not reacting to it in real time here, but we'll find out. And if it whatever the details are, we can probably talk about it next week's show.
Right. Whatever happens. I'm sure it's going to be a crap show because that's usually what happens. Other news that people are going to be excited about. Disney has announced the release date for Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, Taylor's version. This is the thing that Bob Iger pulled out of his butt to keep him and the board in place at $75 million. It's the one thing the choice they did make that I agree with. I'm not sold on the Epic unit or the Epic Games thing. I'm not sold on some of the other things that the sports thing, but the Taylor Swift thing was a good choice. So this is going to come out on March 14th.
Yes.
So we're 10 days away. It's going to start at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that would be like 9 o'clock Eastern. It's going to have some new songs in it. I mean, well, not new, but there's going to have songs that weren't in the theatrical release. It's going to have Cardigan in it for sure. There's 4 other additional acoustic songs that weren't in the film version that's going to be on this. So you can look for that on March 14th. Kind of like people are asking, when is that going to be on Disney Plus? We now know. There's also a trailer. If you go out to piratesandprincesses.net, the trailer's out there. You can see it. You can go to YouTube and look it up as well. It's out there, so you can take a look at that.
So it's like the special edition. So Taylor shoots first.
Taylor shot first, yes.
Well, they're treating this, it's so weird. They're treating this thing like they're treating their own like top shelf Disney Plus shows.
Well,
like,
this is what's going to get them a lot of attention and subscribers and stuff. I mean, this is the one thing I thought was a smart move that they did do.
It'll be the most pirated Disney Plus show in history.
Probably. On to a funny park story. So Carousel of Progress. Carousel of Progress always has trouble. It isn't progressing as it should, and it needs a refurb really bad. Well, at least the hands weren't falling off the animatronics this time. Usually they lose their hand or the head breaks or something. This time people were on the ride and the audio got screwed up. So it's not at the speed it should be. So it sounds creepy as heck. Here you can hear some of it. This is from D&D Disney on TikTok, and you can hear there.
It used to take 2 days.
Oh, that's right, folks. Now Sarah has time for other things like.
Phew, boy. Years. We've come a long way, though, since the turn of the century, over 20 some odd years.
So these people had to ride the entire attraction through with the audio like that.
Oh my God.
And at the end, though, hey, it worked out, though. At the end, they got lightning lane passes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I had to sit through the whole way through Carousel of Progress, which I actually like Carousel of Progress, in the cool air-conditioned theater to take a break, and then you come out the other end of it and you get, because you can't get off until it runs the whole way through because they only can exit people when they get to the end, and you get free lightning lane out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I just think it's funny.
They're not updating Carousel of Progress. Like I think it's probably a good thing though that they're not updating it, because I'm afraid what they would update it to. But it feels like they're just letting it just limp along, and
they aren't. Yeah, and I'm afraid they're gonna like take it out. I'm really worried they're going to, because they're going to be like, they keep wanting to replace everything with IP, and I'm just afraid they're going to be like, you know what, we can put something else in Tomorrowland there.
Yeah, and it's sad because this is one thing that is like one of the few things in Disney World that were Walt's. Like he loved the Carousel of Progress. This is the original version of it. They moved it from Disneyland to Walt Disney World.
The ending's been changed a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, but it is mostly the original attraction. It's got a new I can't say new, it's 30 some years old, but it's got a newer, soundtrack and everything with it. But still, this is one of the few things in Walt Disney World that Walt actually signed off on. And if they take it out, which I could totally see them doing, I mean, I'd be like, yeah, well, we don't need the Walt and Disney World.
Well, I think too. Well, yeah, I know, right? I do think also there's the whole problem with the fact that it breaks down a lot. And like I said, the hands are falling off of animatronics all the time. There's always issues. So they might be looking at that way too. And it's how are you gonna get parts? Sometimes you can't get the stuff you need to fix it. But it would just break my heart if they took it out.
Yeah, I hope they don't, but they do need to fix it. But of course, fixing it is going to require an update. Weirdly, I think we talked about this before. The Carousel of Progress wound up being shockingly accurate for the future part, because we've got a smart home device in it, right? We've got virtual reality.
It doesn't look great, but
it doesn't look great, but you know what I'm saying? So, and everybody's, Sarah's working at home.
Is she? I don't remember.
I think she was on the computer or whatever. But
the mom, she was.
Yeah.
She was doing something, yeah.
So,
you got the smart appliances, Alexa.
The smart appliances and the Alexa and all that. So a lot of that happened. And then, the 90s fashion came back, of course.
Yeah. So that's back in.
Ugly sweaters are in now.
So there you go. It's coming back. So maybe they won't have to update too much, but the ride itself needs to be probably taken down for a bit to have a lot of it overhauled and fixed and then reopen it. But it's a good way to get rid of a lot of crowds, and then it's a good place to go to sit and cool off, if you want to get out of the heat for a bit.
Oh my gosh, at one time we threw the cast members because at rope drop we went to the Carousel of Progress because it was like the last thing we had to do before we were going to leave. It's like, yeah, so we went and they're like, wait, there's people here. They're not supposed to be here until the afternoon. You're supposed to be on Space Mountain. What are you doing here? They're like, oh my God, we have to work? What?
They were like, well, basically Carousel Progress is stroller parking now. And they were so thrown. They were like, why are you here at rope drop? Why aren't you on, Space Mountain or something? Yeah, that was funny. I forgot about that. But so that I thought that was interesting because it was the sound.
Yeah, it
was funny to me, and it's just like you have to ride the ride with bad sound, but you get lightning lanes at the end. I think the trade off is worth it. Also, now we're going to talk about the other stuff. We're going to go into the issues with Disney and their box office in decline, and we're also going to talk about the proxy battle. And some of the latest updates on that. First, before we get into the proxy thing, we're going to talk about this. So one thing people keep talking about all the time is how we have so many live action remakes of Disney animated films and how it's getting ridiculous. I mean, nobody's asking for a live action Bambi, but they're making one. Okay.
Yeah.
So a few months ago, Sean Bailey, who was the person who was at the head of the live action, the one making these decisions, had a big spread in like the New York Times or New York Post, one of the New York ones. And he was kind of like, basking in the glory of his decisions to make all these movies into live action. And anybody who doesn't like them is this terrible person. That's why they don't like The Little Mermaid not being white and all that other stuff. And the box office failures, that's just because of bigots. Well, now he's gone. As of just last week.
Yeah, I think it was after we recorded last week's episode, this guy got gone, and
he's still going to be staying on to finish producing the Tron Ares movie, which again, I'm like, why do we need this movie?
Yeah.
The Tron Ares movie, but that's it. And then he's going on to entrepreneurial endeavors. So my money's on dude got canned. I know he was looking to jump ship because his contract was going to end next year. And he was trying to go to Netflix and different places and they weren't picking him up. And now all of a sudden he's gone.
Yeah, and this signals to me that Disney might be they might be starting to get a clue. They might be starting between this and the comments that Bob Iger's made about Marvel, especially, they might be looking at things being like, yeah, maybe we've just been putting out a lot of really bad movies and we shouldn't do that anymore.
Maybe we shouldn't just live action everything. Like Moana. Why do we need a live action Moana? We don't, especially when you just announced Moana 2. And if you look at Google Trends, Moana 2 interest is far, far above the live action Moana.
Yeah.
So they moved David Greenbaum up, and David Greenbaum is now going to be the president of Disney Live Action and 20th Century Studios. He was one of the co-presidents of the 20th Century Studios before. So he is now going to be in charge of this kind of stuff. And one thing I thought was very interesting about him was he asked the question, does this movie need to exist? Yeah. Which is a question Disney should be asking itself and should have been asking itself many, many times over the last 2 or 3 years, especially.
Yeah.
Do we need a Haunted Mansion 2? Do we need a live action Little Mermaid? Do we need, at most, do we need more Marvel films? Not the way the ones we get in Deadpool 3, I think is going to do well. But a lot of the ones have coming out after that, like the Thunderbolts and stuff, I don't think anybody's going to care. I really, truly don't. So his question he asks is, does this movie need to exist? But the reason he probably got moved up is because Disney seems to be realizing that they have to do something different. Because last year, the biggest movies were like Barbie and Oppenheimer and Super Mario Brothers. And they weren't any of the Disney films, which is, Disney was shocked. It's not us. And this guy, I think, worked on Poor Things, which didn't make a lot of money, but it's getting a lot of awards.
Yeah.
And I think they're looking at Barbie and things like that. And they're like, we need to do more things like that and less things like live action reimaginings.
Yeah. And what are they going to do? I mean, we've talked about this before. Disney, they've pretty much kind of run Marvel into the ground at this point. They've run Star Wars into the ground. They've run Pixar into the ground. The live action movies aren't doing the adaptations. They're not critically well received. They're not commercially well received anymore. So what do? They have to do new stuff. But they got nothing. I think that's probably why they're letting him do Tron Ares, because they're like, well, at least that's our own IP, and we haven't done a Tron movie in 15 years.
Yeah, but I hope Jared Leto does better than he has in his last couple movies, because I don't think he was a solid choice for the character at all.
The irony in this is that the guy who did Tron Legacy went on to do Top Gun Maverick, which made a ton of money, and he actually planned Tron Legacy to be part one of a 2-part story, which is why they kind of set up the next, installment, and then they never did it.
We don't even know what this is going to be.
No, it might be completely unrelated.
Well, we don't. It's a program that comes into our world. Probably because it's cheaper. I mean, let's be honest here. It's way cheaper.
It's like the Masters of the Universe movie where they come from eternity
because it's cheaper.
Well, they went there with Tron Legacy. They brought Korra, the girl, into our world, and they were going to set things up so the next one took place here. But this is a totally new character. So,
right.
I'm saying there's no connection. And I think Bruce Boxleitner said that he was out. He didn't want to do anymore.
I didn't like Tron Legacy because it was Tron without Tron.
Well, he was going to be. Apparently he was going to be in. They were saying up that he was going to be in the next part, and then Disney pulled the plug on it.
Because
So
to me, I'm sorry, Tron without Trons is stupid. So I didn't like
Tron
it.
it's like Garfield minus Garfield.
I
It's like
also-
Tron minus Tron.
I will admit too, part of my dislike had to do with the fact that that was like the first and only 3D movie I went to see, because I came out of the theater and I was so sick afterwards I couldn't even walk straight for like an hour, and I was like, you know what? Nope, don't need to see 3D movies. Really, truly don't. Didn't make much of a difference. Still didn't like it that much anyway. So I might be a little bit biased against it because I got sick. But
3D movies, that's kind of a weird. I mean, this is kind of a side tangent, but like. That was kind of a fad, wasn't it? Like everybody, all the movies were in 3D. They're bringing old movies back. They're converting them to 3D. And now nobody wants to go to the theater to see movies in 3D anymore. Because it's okay for attractions, like for a 5-minute attraction, but 2 hours of that.
oh, speaking of 3D, people are mad because they took the 3D glasses out of the Kong attraction at Universal.
Oh, that's weird.
We don't know if they're putting them back or what they're doing, but they took it out. And the people are like, save money or what? They don't know, but
Cleaning costs.
I don't know. That was a side tangent, but you said that and it reminded me. I'm like, oh yeah, we should have covered that, but I forgot about it.
Disney's going to cut some corners. They're going to take the 3D glasses out of Muppet Vision.
That's right.
Just use your imagination, guys.
Have you ever looked at the screen without the 3D glasses? I have.
It's blurry.
It'll make you sick. Oh yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
So I wear glasses. If I take my glasses off, that's what everything looks like.
It looks really weird. It just looks weird. If you ever get the chance, if you haven't done it, which I think most people have, take your glasses off for a bit when you're in one of these attractions. It's a very different experience. So this guy, they're putting him in charge. It's going to be interesting. Meanwhile, they're also still doing, Moana 2, which was it was going to be a show on Disney Plus, and they're just cutting it to make it into a movie, which I still don't know if that's a good idea. But they did get the voice of the original Moana back for the film. They signed her, so she's coming back for the series turned into movie. But we have Moana 2, we have Toy Story 5, we have Frozen 3. So on one hand, they're just like, doing live action reimaginings. On the other hand, they just keep doing sequels to things they know are successful. And I just really wish, I'm not saying there's a place for that. I do agree there's a place for that. But I just like to see good original content out of Disney, because they keep doing originals and like people hated the originals that we've been doing, but because they aren't good, and I don't have much hope out for Elio and stuff like that coming. It doesn't look that good to me.
No,
but we'll see what happens.
I don't know. Look, all the really creative people at Disney have left Disney one way or another. There's not much left over there. I mean, I'm being honest. It's just like, so they don't have a lot of new stuff, but you think back, like other than the animated movies and occasionally they would have a live action hit, Disney never really had like a lot of like evergreen movie franchises, No. So I think without Star Wars and Marvel, they're kind of like, what are we going to do?
Oh, speaking of things, we're talking about Disney Plus and like shows and things that does work for them. I'm going to mention this Bluey. Yeah. Which was one of the top stream shows on Disney Plus. It was one of the top stream shows in Australia. Well, they're going on a hiatus after season 3. They're doing season 3, and then they're doing an episode that instead of being just a few minutes long, is like 28-minute long episode. Kind of like it'd be like their equivalent of a movie, I guess, to go with it, because it's like the 2 or 3 probably 3 or 4 episodes together to get 28 minutes. Well, the people behind Bluey, Ludo Studios, is taking a break, a hiatus from Bluey, because they said they want to make sure Bluey stays fresh, and they wanted to step away from it for a while, which, makes sense. I mean, I don't think anybody wants Bluey to not be fresh. But they're going for a different version of fresh. Yeah. Because Ludo Studios is now making a show about a boy on the cusp of sexual awakening. Yeah. So the people behind Bluey are not making Bluey. They're taking a hiatus. It's one of Disney's top streaming shows. And they're going to make this show called Willy, which is
a very unfortunate name for a show about that. I'm just saying.
A coming-of-age animated series. It's 2003, and 15-year-old Willy is on the cusp of a sexual awakening, which would be great if he wasn't stuck in the rural sugarcane farming town of Tui. Willy's only salvation is his colorful imagination and the cast of fantastical friends who inhabit it, including a razor-tongued rescue cat Beverly and a scornful op-shop portrait of the Virgin Mary. But soon the arrival of hot new neighbor Jack threatens to bust Willie's carefully constructed inner world wide open.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to bust Willie open.
Changing the lives of Toei locals forever. I just think it's funny.
So look, and we've said before, there are animation studios out there that they do kids cartoons and they do, more adult stuff. In Japan, you've actually got some very, very adult stuff being animated at the same studio that might do a kids show. That being said,
I just find it funny.
People were already upset that they were putting Bluey on hiatus. It is associated with Disney, and this is the show that they're putting it on hiatus for.
I just think it's funny because there are some things in Bluey Disney wouldn't run on Disney Plus. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
They had an episode about farting, and they wouldn't run it for a while because it couldn't get past their, people who decide what gets aired. Not. They had an episode about childbirth. I think they still haven't put that on. There's some different ones that they won't air. And then this has nothing to do with Disney. I don't think this is going on Disney Plus, but it was just funny to me because then they're just doing this completely different demographic, definitely skewing older show. But hey, I guess this gives them a break from Bluey.
I was gonna say this one's going to Hulu.
I'm just like, Hulu. Yeah, Hulu. There you go. Or,
we'll put this one on Hulu. But I understand. Again, I want to be clear. Like animation studios, they do this. They do all kinds of different stuff.
I just thought it was funny.
But it is kind of ironic that like this is what they're putting Bluey on hiatus for.
I'm just like Bluey, who is like kicking butt, and Disney Shop Disney. Well, I guess it's Disney Store now. They call it Disney Store online now. They just dropped a bunch of Bluey toys today on their store, and I'm like, Bluey's one of their top performers for both streaming and selling toys, and they're just taking a hiatus for it, and they're going to go make this show. I don't think that's going to do as well as Bluey, but that's just me. I just thought that was a funny little aside we could add. Now we can talk real quick. The last thing we're going to talk about is back to the proxy battle.
Yes.
If you're not aware, Walt Disney Company is up for their annual meeting is April 3rd, and there are two activist groups, the Triumph Partners with Nelson Peltz and Jay Rizzullo, and then the Blackwell's Capital Group that has somebody that was from Universal, are trying to get seats on the Disney board. There was also a third one, which was Value Act Capital, but Disney made a deal with them, and now they're kind of working with Disney, which is also taking off Blackwell's.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Well, they seem to get inside information, and that's not really cool. So ahead of this, they're really, really mad about Peltz. So Disney has done things like make a video with Ludwig von Drake and trying to pull out the nostalgia characters to try to be vote white, vote for Disney, keep us on the board. And now their latest one they did is now they got Walt and Roy Disney's grandchildren to send letters out to shareholders and be like, we need to keep the magic. And if you need to keep the magic, you need to keep the board as is and keep Bob Iger in charge, which was so funny because Roy Disney's granddaughter, Abigail Disney, has been known to be calling out Bob Iger, the board, Bob Iger's pay. She even basically said Uncle Walt was a fascist.
Yeah.
And now she's out here like, for the magic, we need to keep Iger in there.
Yeah, that's a little weird because she has spent the last several years attacking Disney, attacking Bob Iger, attacking how greedy they are, attacking the fact that she's attacked her own family though too. I mean, she has.
She just did a movie.
She just did a whole movie attacking Disney and how greedy Disney has become and how far they've strayed from. Her family's ideals, which, she said was fascist in the podcast, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but now all of a sudden, maybe it's like my enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't know. It was
funny. If you're going to bring somebody out to convince shareholders, I don't think Abigail Disney is it. Like, I guess in the letter, the Abigail and her grandchildren in arms, the people that were like her, they were right that Bob Iger and his management team and the board of directors are faithful to this magic. They understand the longevity of the Walt Disney Company isn't only the results of small business decisions. If that's the case, then why have they run it into the ground just in the last few years based on poor decisions? It is rooted in the strong emotional connection Disney continues to forge with generations of people from around the globe, that most of them had nothing to do with making the connection in the first place. We may not agree about everything, but we know that our grandfather would be especially proud of what Disney means to the world today. We also know that, like us, he would be very concerned by the threat posed by self-anointed activist investors who are really wolves in sheep's clothing, just waiting to tear Disney apart. Why would they need to? Disney people, the board and Iger have been doing a fantastic job of that on their own. And if they can trick shareholders into opening doors for them, they can get in there.
Yeah.
This is also what Abigail Disney has said in regards to her movie. I can't imagine that a CEO in good faith would object to having a more complex measure of success than simply something as blunt and silly as share price. The share price has lost more than 40% of its value in the last 2 years. This is a couple years ago, which is pretty cataclysmic for people who rely on pension funds and things like that to live their lives. I hate it, but it's not enough of a way to know if the company is doing well or not.
That literally is how you know if a company is doing well.
Right.
I mean, it literally, like Abigail's so...
But that's what I'm saying. The activist investors are upset because the shares have been bad and the company's losing money and they want the company to do better because then everybody who has shares does better. And Abigail Disney just like a year or two ago was saying that the share price is lost value. It's cataclysmic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, which is it?
I don't know. I don't think she knows.
Then she talked about Bob Iger when he came back, and she said it reflects badly on the board for the way they handled it and the fact that it never had succession in mind, really in a serious way. It reflects badly on Chapek because he performed really badly, and it reflects badly on Bob Iger because he really, honestly, this is an affirmation that he failed with succession planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Bob is basically a decent person, but I think money and power have hijacked his sensibilities.
Oh, my God.
And, this is the stuff that she's been saying. But no, you need to keep Bob Iger on the board because of the magic. Now, look, you can vote however you want. I just find it very ironic. There's a little bit of hypocrisy here that I find funny.
Yeah, if she hadn't spent the last 5 or 6 years and literally made a movie about how awful Disney was, I would kind of be like, well, maybe she just had a change of heart. But I'm like, no, there's something else going on.
She also was mad that Iger got $65 million once and said that he should have used his money to give Disneyland employees, just Disneyland employees, double their pay, and he still would have made $10 million.
That's probably true, but she wants to keep the board as is, and I can guarantee you, Bob isn't going to share his salary with anybody in Disneyland if they all stay.
No, I mean, he's the one that wouldn't even, settle it was one of the main reasons why they wouldn't settle the actors strike and the writers strike.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just find it funny. I find it kind of hypocritical and hilarious.
Yeah, wasn't he the bad guy? He was the big villain of Hollywood.
No, the wolves in sheep's clothing are. Now look, I Nelson Peltz, I think, has a history of, some things I can see where they're coming from somewhat. But I know as everything as it has been, staying as its status quo is not working. I know people on the board and Bob Iger have made a lot of poor decisions that they are paying for now over the last few years. That poop runs downhill. They're paying for it now. And I think that they shouldn't have made those decisions, but they did. And here we are. I don't think if Peltz is bad, so is Iger. Is what I'm saying. I think there's enough blame to go around, but something needs to change. Whether it be him or somebody else, something needs to change. As it is now, it is not working.
I mean, we talked about this last week. Disney is not in a good place right now. I don't care how much pixie dust you're huffing. It is not in a good place. They've been going downhill for years, and they need to course correct. And, I'm willing to give Peltz and Rosullo a shot, because they can't screw it up well, I say that. But,
yeah, just be careful what you say.
Just saying, like, somebody has to do something. Keeping the status quo is not going to work.
It sounds like the pressure, if nothing else, is making them make better decisions.
Yeah.
Like we have them, taking out Sean Bailey, who's the king of remakes, and bringing in somebody else to try to think outside the box and do better. They're announcing like these different things they're trying to do, like the Taylor Swift Eras Tour and stuff like that, trying to improve it. Now, what my point is, it makes me mad is if you could do this stuff before, instead of sitting on your thumbs, why didn't you? Why did you take being pushed into a corner that you might lose your seats, your friends might lose their seats, for you to actually try to do something to fix the situation? That's where I'm sitting. I'm like, if you could have fixed it, why didn't you fix it sooner?
Exactly.
But anyway, that's where we are for this week. I'm sure there'll be more news, but we only can do one of these a week, so.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this one up, guys. Go out to piratesandprincesses.net for more timely Disney news in between podcasts. Your support is greatly appreciated, and please subscribe.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks again for listening. More news and videos are available on our website at www.piratesandprincesses.net. Our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. If you like the show, please consider subscribing and leaving us a positive review on iTunes and other podcast platforms. This podcast is a production of Clownfish Studios LLC and WebReef Media, and we'll see you next time.